When I shot my first roll of Harman Phoenix, I was impressed with the punchy, contrasty look, along with the slightly wild colours it sometimes produces. It got me thinking, what would be the most ridiculous camera or lens that I could use to embrace the bold look of the film? So I loaded a roll into my Nikon F-501, dug out my Lensbaby 3G and headed out for some bendy, swirly, soft focusy fun. The Lensbaby 3G, like the first two Lensbaby lenses, is essentially a lens mounted on a bit of flexible pipe. You focus by pulling the lens closer to the camera for distant subjects and moving it away from the camera for close subjects. You can bend the lens to move the sweet spot of focus around the image and then take your shot. The 3G added the ability to lock the lens more or less in position once you'd focused and bent the lens. You could then use these screw rods to fine-tune the position of the sweet spot and adjust the focus with a focus ring here. The lock is then released by squeezing these two blobs at the bottom. That all made this version far better if you were planning to use it on a tripod for night photography or anything like that. I've used this lens for night photography on digital bodies in the past, and it can produce some really excellent results. The lens is somewhere around a 50mm f2, and you change the aperture by dropping in these discs. With no disc in place, it gives you an aperture of f2. Then you use smaller and smaller discs down to f22, although in reality you're more likely to want to use the wider apertures with this lens. To remove an aperture disc, you use this magnetic proddy thing to pull the disc out, and then simply drop in another disc which is held in place by some magnets in the lens. The proddy thing also stores the spare aperture discs in the handle. The advantage of this aperture disc system is that your bokeh or bokeh remains round regardless of which aperture you're using. As with my previous roll of Phoenix, I opted not to shoot it at its box speed of 200 ISO, instead overexposing a little and shooting at 125 ISO. So now I think we can take a look at a few of the shots taken using the Phoenix Lensbaby combination, and then I'll talk a little more. Changing the aperture on the Lensbaby doesn't have quite the same effect as on a normal lens. I've shot this set of images on a digital body to demonstrate. Wide open, there's a very small spot of focus surrounded by lots of blur. You can use this to really draw attention to your subject or point of interest. Inserting the f2.8 disc gives a little more in focus, but it's still a fairly dreamy look. F4 again increases the amount of image that's sharp, but there's still plenty of blur around the rest of the image. I think f5.6 is probably about as far as I've ever gone with this lens, because it starts to get a bit more normal from here on. With the right subject, f8 can still work quite well, and I don't dislike it quite as much as I expected. f11 is just a step on from f8. By f16, even more of the stuff in the background is starting to become clear, and at f22 it just looks like you've added a bit of blur around the edges in Photoshop. If I toggle back to the f2 shot, it's much more atmospheric, although it won't be to everyone's taste. The Lensbaby can be a tricky beast to tame, and you'll more often find them attached to a digital camera where you can use a scattergun approach to ensure you get a good shot. But I quite enjoyed shooting film with it, knowing all along that the whole lot might turn out to be utter rubbish. Okay, time for some more shots and then a quick summary. I think Phoenix film really suits something a bit wacky like the Lensbaby. I generally like the more atmospheric shots the most, and my favourite one of the roll is this chair and table. The colour, the lighting, and the amount of blur gives it a peaceful, dreamy look that just works. Lensbaby don't make the 3G anymore. The Composer with the Sweet 50 optic would be the closest thing in their current lineup. Although for the very free shooting experience, when I'm not using the locking mechanism, such as photographing this parade, I think they still do a version called the Spark, which is essentially still just a lens on the end of a bit of flexible pipe. I've already got a roll of black and white in the Nikon, still with the Lensbaby attached, so those shots will come along in due course. But once that's finished, I'll put another roll of Phoenix in and repeat this experiment, because I think it worked quite well. I've also got a roll of Phoenix in my OM20, so there will be some more normal shots from that roll coming sometime soon. I think that will probably do for this video. If you've enjoyed watching, please like the video and maybe even subscribe to the channel, not forgetting to click on the bell icon so you get notifications when a future video is released. That's it for now, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.